It
We
would
made it
work.
work.
Okay. Not as difficult as
That
anticipated.
was way easier. Yeah.
Great.
Dude, thanks for like hanging out with
Oh my
me
God.
and being willing to figure this out with me. I appreciate
No,
it.
no, I appreciate you having me on. This is amazing.
Sick. So you've got a current Kickstarter
I
running,
do.
and I'm gonna we'll do this. Haha, there
Oh,
it is. Check it out. Slight
all right.
Return, a supernatural rock and roll thriller. See, I knew with the hook, man, I had to get you on in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
Um, some deals with the devil come with strings attached. I love it. I love it. I love it. This, I like everything about this book. Looks like it's right in my wheelhouse. So tell me about Slight Return. Like, what's the story?
Story. Okay, so Slight Return is about a young woman. Her name is Theo. She inherits her rock star grandfather's mansion, and it's condemned. It's a mess. But she wants to record her own solo record in the mansion to revitalize her own
Nice.
career. And when
Okay.
she does this, the problem is this eerie stranger comes to her in the night looking to recover this iconic guitar of the grandfather's that he
Mm.
says was traded away all these years ago. And it becomes a game of wits between these two characters, and Theo realizes that this rock and roll pedigree that she has, there might be something supernatural to it, and that this benevolent guy who showed up is there to snatch it away. So that's the elevator pitch.
I like it, dude. It's there's such a craft to like formulating that elevator pitch. Um,
Yeah,
like anybody that's never had to do that is like, oh, you're just talking about the thing. But like to be able to just boil that down into what, like a minute
yeah, it's really
is
hard.
like it is. It is.
It's
So
really hard.
um
And I know like a lot of the books that you cover are self-published, but like pitching, like that's all I've done is to smaller publishers, and like man, you got to be like really really sharp at that stuff because they get a bunch of stuff and they're constantly evaluating ideas and stuff. So you need to get your stuff really buttoned up before you get it in front of them.
so how long have you been working on Slight Return? Like what brought you to this point now to have this on Kickstarter in 2025?
Okay, so I think work started on it in maybe 2021.
Okay.
I back when Twitter was good, I came across Heather Vaughn, who's a Philly-based artist and a genius. I when I saw her work, I immediately was like, I need to work with this person at some point.
Yeah.
And of course, she's very in demand, but I happen to have this idea come up, which became Slight Return, and I was like, I think Heather used to play bass. I was like, I think like this might be something she could be interested in. So the stars aligned, and she fit me in her schedule, and she did a few interior pages and a cover, and I just went off pitching with it, and I think we closed the deal with Odyssey Comics, based here in Southern California in late 2023, and then we've been spending the rest of our time getting our ducks in a row in terms of for like launching the
Yeah.
actual campaign. So yeah, that's where we
Awesome.
are.
So is this a one shot or is this like the first of
Mm. Yeah, so we're calling it a graphic novel. It's 48 pages.
okay.
It's a slim graphic novel, but it is self-contained. It's a one shot. There are no planned sequels. We're not gonna put you on the hook for, number two, three, and four. Like this is just meant to sit on your shelf and stand on its own, and yeah, just be enjoyed in one sitting, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, like at this point in reading comics and in my like journey as a fan, I prefer that format. Like give it
Yeah.
to me in one shot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I'll pick up the one shot like single issue floppies at my local comic shop. But anymore, I'm like, man, I don't have the memory
Yeah.
to
I don't have
remember
the memory. I
sorting
don't
out
have
that
the
many books.
space like in my actual apartment to put
Yeah,
all these
dude.
books, man. Um, yeah, no, I specifically because I'm at the beginning of my comics career. I can't pitch a 12 issue thing. So when I was developing Slight Return, like that was like part of my intention with it was to distill it down, make it a one volume thing that someone can pick up. It's it ends up being like two floppies, I guess I would say,
Yeah.
worth of material, and yeah, just get in, get out, blow people away, and yeah,
I mean, what more could you ask for, really?
yeah,
Like,
no.
get in, get out.
That's, I mean, so, yes, I mean, some of my favorite books are like the one shots, or you buy the trades or whatever, and it gets conveniently collected for you. But like that one kind of sitting, 1 to 2 sittings for a story is just like, I don't know. There's something magical about that.
That's cool. And how was the process like working with Heather to go from like conception to script to then like penciled, inked, colored pages?
Yeah, so really easy actually because Heather doesn't need a lot of direction.
Mm,
I will bring up the cover she did with us here. Um, Very
oh yeah,
striking, very bold color choices, a very distinct kind of like line quality. And she is, I don't know, she's a natural storyteller, I think. She got the vibe of it right away. She knew it was like a kind of like a horror chamber piece with these two characters in this spooky setting. And yeah, I think at one point I had a note that like a character in the background was holding like the wrong kind of guitar or something. Like it was not. It was very hands off in terms of putting together those initial pages for the pitch. And yeah, our letterer, I should mention him as well, Jerome Gagnon. He does incredible work as well, and did a really great graphic style. Let me see if I can bring up a page real quick for anyone watching. But like the singing that's happening here is like somewhere
so
between
good.
sound effects and actual dialogue, and it's he did an incredible job, and he again he didn't need a lot of direction either. Like there's just so much talent out there, man, and I'm lucky to be a part of this team and a part of lucky to be a part of the Odyssey team now too. Marcus is the publisher, and Aaron Keepers is our editor as well, and it was helped me with the script. So yeah, it hasn't been intensive in terms of like developing that material from my point of view.
That's cool.
Yeah,
And while we're talking about her, I just put her up here on the
yeah,
gram, so you can find her. H Vaughn 88 is how you find her. And am I insane? Is that did she do the Eat My Flesh, Drink My
yeah,
Blood with? Okay,
yep, yeah. That's I don't know if that was a variant or not, but yeah, I think she uses that PFP quite widely. But that's a
that's cool.
killer cover piece that she
Yeah,
did.
dude, I never cease to be like caught off guard when I am perusing or like come across a new creator. I'm like, oh, that's a cool. Like, why does that name? And then I start looking at their stuff, and I'm like, oh, I've read that book. Like, I had that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've seen it before, yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I don't know if Heather continues to do comics. I believe like she'll be even more widely known in short order because like the work is just too striking, and
Yeah,
if it's your cup of tea, then like it hits so hard.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I'm in that boat for sure.
Mhm.
Like looking at the Kickstarter page, and I guess I can show that off to you. See, this is the
Mhm.
beauty of like Instagram Live, is
Yeah.
I can just pick up my little phone on my
Oh
desktop.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But like you've got these preview pages,
Yep.
and so you really get a feel for like the color palette, which I freaking love. Like it's
Yeah.
almost like a muted, like neon color,
Yes.
and like, dude, that's so rad.
Yeah.
And then here's
I
that
can't
page
wait for
we were
people
just
to
talking
see the
about.
rest of it.
Like, yeah, I saw this and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna need to get on back. Like this panel alone, dude.
Yeah.
Like you give the pitch, you show that panel,
Yeah.
everybody's got to back it like
Yep.
immediately.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the pitch as well. And when that was the third page of the interiors that we did, and I was just like, I don't know who's gonna bite on this first, but like it feels really good, and it feels like something publishers would be um excited to get their hands on.
Yeah, yeah, and then we also here have. I love this because people. So we've got Ian, who is also post punk in his own right. Had him on at the beginning of the year. If you're not familiar with Rob and Heather's work, they're absolute powerhouses. And the book is an instant
Oh,
back from me. Uh,
Ian, yeah, I know Ian. He's such a good guy. He did his Tomb of the White, Black, Red, and Gray Horse
yeah,
series a while back. It's horror series, kicked ass. Good to hear from you, Ian.
yeah. Yeah, and as always, like I just appreciate seeing some of the same like names because they do this every week, and usually it's just me sitting here blabbing about whatever comes into my brain. So it's kind of a nice, like, fun, more relaxed feel to have you on and just be able to chat about your book. So
Oh
like
man.
doing doing a comic about music
hmm
and musicians, like, do you play yourself?
So I I can play a little bit of guitar. I went through a big music phase in my teenage years, like everyone else. I was in a garage band.
Perfect.
And I became, you know, I was obsessed with rock and roll. I think part of that part of that obsession, you know, like, led me to the Stones and Zeppelin, and realizing that, oh, like a lot of these guys were playing like these foundational blues songs
Mm,
from like the 30s, and that led me to like Robert Johnson, and then like Robert Johnson has this like legend about him going to the crossroads and selling his soul to the devil to be good at playing the blues. And I was like, that always stuck with
yeah,
me, and that legend has sort of like echoed through other rock stars since then. And yeah, so Slight Return is like me sort of like exploring that idea a generation removed, like the debt has been passed down to you know, the grandchild of someone who made this devilish deal
yeah,
uh with Satan. So
yeah. Yeah, I love like the so I talk about this a lot in my regular like YouTube streams and stuff of just the overlapping Venn diagram because I'm a nerd. The Venn diagram, but like between indie comics and like punk rock and music, and how many former musicians or people that were very like musician adjacent
hmm
um, are now like creating art in the comic space about music. Like
yeah.
I never had the coordination to like play
hmm
instruments, right? I understand how it works in theory. I
right.
just can't do the thing and pull the strings and hit the notes at the right time.
Yeah.
And I tried. Like I gave it the old
Give a
college
shot.
try.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
yeah, I'm not a natural musician. Like I loved it. I loved playing, but it got to a point where it's just like I'm trying so hard to be like okay at
yeah.
this. And like the thing I don't have to really try super hard at to be okay in is writing. So I just ended up, you
Yep.
know, gravitating towards that. But no, I mean playing is great. I feel like everyone has some, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have some knowledge of guitar, and I still keep an acoustic here in my apartment in LA, but like it mostly gathers dust at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's fun to like pull out randomly and just be like,
Yeah,
check this out.
every once in a while. Yeah, yeah, every once in a while.
That's good stuff. So in LA, like what I was just talking um this past Monday with Art Abe Buin, I always say his name wrong,
hmm
and Dave Law, and they're both
Oh,
Californian as well.
yeah.
Uh, and they were just talking about like how I don't remember if it was on stream or off stream,
Hmm.
but I was like, yeah, I was complaining about like the prices of gas when I was on vacation. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I had to pay like 309, and they were like, dude, shut up. Like we're over $5. And it just like blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's expensive out here. I mean, it when it goes over five, like that's when like alarm bells start going off. But it floats around four, I would say. Um, Luckily, since the pandemic, I do a lot of working from home, so like there's not a lot of commuting, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should mention, I know Dave Law, super talented guy. He did a cover for me for like one of the first things I self-published, which is like just a collection of like four short stories. Um, and it's like of a mech, like a big scary robot having tea with a little girl. I wonder if I could pull it up real
That's
fast.
awesome.
But no, he's super talented. I love his work. Oh, was he doing California? Is that
Yeah.
what they were talking about? Yeah, I haven't checked that out yet, but I really want to.
Yeah, it's stellar, and you can totally get the full series on Kickstarter right now. It ends the day before Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah,
Well, I have to be on the lookout for that. I know Dave's not really like a super online guy,
yeah,
but I have seen California floating around, and I'm like, I bet that's pretty good. It's got Dave on it.
it's got Dave on it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, we were talking. He was like, "Yeah, like I've done book covers for like Crawler Carl," and I was like, "Hang on, I've like the audio, like the book where the whole thing, like the surface of the earth just smashes, and then suddenly
Yeah.
whoever was left alive is
Yeah.
now like like it's a RPG type book."
Yeah.
It's completely over the top, but I was like, "You did the cover for that?" He was like, yeah, like the audio drama versions and stuff. I was like, I love that book. Like I just listened to that
Yeah.
like 4 months
Hmm.
ago.
Hmm.
It was that just that like overlapping, like how in the world is everything so small when
Yeah.
everything at the same time feels so freaking big.
Yeah, it's I often find in indie comics like it's actually intimidating by like how many people are making things, and you're either kickstarting or at cons or just talking about their work online. But it does feel like in certain circles you run into the same people again making comics because they do it for a long time too, and they leave a footprint. It's not in the Marvel DC shells, but like there's a body of work out there that is just really uh what's the word I'm looking for? Really diverse and really wonderful, and like they're keeping some of the most exciting stuff in the art form I think is happening in those kinds of communities.
Yeah, it's definitely like I feel like as a comic book reader and fan, it's the best time to be a fan
Mhm.
because anything that I could possibly want a comic about, there is one. And if there
Yeah.
isn't, I can take a stab at like reaching out on social media, like, hey, I have this idea. How do I make this into a comic? And suddenly I have people that are reaching out to me, like, hey, I can do like, I would love to pitch in some artwork or whatever. Like, I can edit it. I can check out
Hmm.
the script for you. And suddenly, like as someone that didn't have that on a list of like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do that,
Yeah.
then suddenly it becomes like, holy crap, I think we're making a comic now.
Yeah. Absolutely. It comes together quick. The first comic I made was a very talented UK artist. Again, Twitter was like, does anyone want to put together a short with me? His name's Benjamin Philby. And very talented guy. Actually worked with Ian on the horse
Okay.
series. And yeah, we put together a short to get and got it into an anthology, and it was just like, man, I didn't moved to LA to be closer to like screenwriting and television, and like you work and you work and you work to refine scripts and get people to read them. It's hard to get your stuff read out here, and then it never most of the stuff you make is never comes close to a camera. But like when you do comics, you get the finished piece, you get the art, it gets lettered, it starts, it becomes, you know, this living, breathing piece of art, and it's like it's done. You can show people, and like I just fell in love with that. Like I still do all kinds of writing, but like um participating and finishing comics, that collaboration and like just the latitude of different work you can produce with artists, and letters and colorists. Yeah, nothing beats it. I'm hooked for life.
It's great. And also, speaking of collaborators, Heather just popped
Yeah,
in. Uh,
I saw
Too
that.
bad
Hi,
she's like
Heather.
3 minutes too late because we were just gushing about your art, Heather. But thanks for tuning in and hanging out. That's awesome. So like with the collaboration piece, so if you're doing writing for like film and TV, um, like when you're approaching writing a script, is it a different approach writing, sitting down to write a comic book versus something for screen?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they're like very close cousins, but there are different like muscle groups I think that go into like uh each kind of script. Different formatting, of course. I do my comic scripts usually just in like a Google Doc and format it manually because that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
And yeah, there's something about in screenwriting, you don't have to be, you don't have to pick the most important image all the time,
yeah,
right? Like you're saying what happens, you punch in on a few things that you know will make an impact with your audience, and that should be like the focus of, you know, whatever uh camera gets pointed at it. With but generally speaking, you're leaving it up to other professionals to sort of like pick their shots and you know, blocking a scene and punching in for close-ups and stuff. With comics, I can be a little more hands-on with that
yeah,
stuff, and I can say like, hey, like, you know, this should be the biggest panel on the page, you know, or like let's go like right in on this guy's eyes or whatever. And like I always make it very clear with the artists that I'm working with is like these are suggestions. These are my instinct of how this page is going to work. If
mm,
you have another idea, please by all means try it, share it with me. Let's talk through it, whatever the case may be. And often artists have better ideas than me, so that's helpful. And so it's more like that. So I would say that the difference is with comic writing, you're a little bit more in the driver's seat. You can be a little more detailed, a little more prescriptive about what goes into each panel. But I would just say that, you know, I think best practice is to be really open and collaborative with how your artist will see it as well.
yeah. That's great. Like I love. I'm a sucker for the process, like the
Mm,
creatives that include like, hey, we're gonna do scripts and thumbs and pencils and layouts and all
hmm.
the things. Like I'm the person that eats that stuff up. I
Okay.
love seeing how it works. And as I think I was just talking about this, but like as I read more and more comics, I pay attention more and more to how, like, the impact of a page turn,
Yeah.
or like how does my eye move around the page
Hmm.
before I even start read. Like, I just flip the page. I'm not immediately reading the first line. I'm looking at the two pages that I
Yeah.
have, and like I'm such a nerd for like how that works and how you plan it and executing that
Yeah.
well. um, and I think there's something to be said about like bringing the energy of like a rock and roll band into a comic and then mashing that in with supernatural stuff that just like how do you contain all of that energy in like in the
I
page.
You know, that's a good question. I guess there's part of me, you know, when it comes to, you know, I'm a huge fan of a lot of harder rock too. Like Soundgarden is my first band that I really fell in love with. And you know, there's, you know, I love Sabbath too. Like there is a genre of music. I think rock and roll has always been very closely tied to genre imagery in terms of like horror imagery, fantasy imagery. I mean, like the Zeppelin was singing about like Tolkien in their songs. It's like they're always they're they're very closely linked. So when it comes time to like, formulating a story, thinking about like what are the visuals of this, rock and roll like mystery thriller. I don't know. It feels natural. It feels like chocolate and peanut butter in a way that like I don't have to like think of like too many. I don't have to force these pieces together because I think they're always harmonious and they're harmonious in the zeitgeist. Like we associate like horror imagery with like certain kinds of music or fantasy imagery with certain kinds of music, and rock and roll is always sort of like the backbone of that. So like, when there's like a skeleton or like what else I have, swarms of bugs, or like, fiery eyes. Yeah, Batman, yeah. um there's I just think that they're already in dialogue with each other. So it's really, really just a matter of like tapping into that. I didn't feel like I had to do a lot of work in terms of making one fit the other or complement the other.
That's cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that answered your
I
question.
yeah, it no, it like I think that the natural association of imagery like that um automatically evokes like the top image that you've got on the Kickstarter page,
Mm,
right? Like I can't see this without thinking like, oh, that's a badass musician.
right.
She's probably shredding that guitar.
Yeah.
Like all of those things come to mind, and it's just because of like she's wearing a battle
Yeah.
jacket. She's got the buttons. She has the chain with the lock on it. Like
Right.
all of those things lend itself to setting or creating that atmosphere and environment that then for the reader is very easy to get lost in.
Right.
Just like the whole point, right?
Yeah. 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 And I mean, I think, credit to Heather again too, in terms of, creating this environment in the book that feels, spooky and dark, but there's also like this tension too, that, the color choices, like it feels almost as if you're at like some kind of like, club show. Like if it's evocative of like rock and roll, modern post-punk sort of like life, which is like where our main character sort of lives. So I think it's a great fit, and I think when Heather first showed me the first few pages, I was like, whoa, this is a lot of pink. I was like, I did not expect this to look like this, but it only took like another second for me to be like, this is amazing. This is like so much better than what I pictured. Um, Incredible. Let's, full steam ahead. Let's have the whole thing
Yeah,
look as much like this as we can.
that's awesome. I love like hearing from writers that have that experience. Like they get those first pages back and they're just blown away by what
Hmm.
the artist did with their words to then make them come to life on the page.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like it's such a cool skill. Like if I could do that, I can't draw my way out of paper bag.
No, me
If I
neither.
could do that, like I'd be drawing everything, right? Like I would, doesn't even matter. I would just like flip open the like encyclopedia. I don't know why I'm an old man flipping open encyclopedia and just hit like random page and
Yeah.
then just start drawing, right? Classic Heather making things better. Like
Yeah.
I just I I wouldn't I don't know how artists ever stop drawing when you can do that with words and just pull out all of the energy and the emotion and the environment and the atmosphere and put it all together into a book.
Yeah, I mean, I consider what most of the artists I work with do like magic. Like it's, it's usually the case that it looks tremendously like how it did in my head, or it looks nothing like it looked in my head, but better. But in a way that like I was like, okay, well, this is the direction now. We're doing this. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe like, I don't know, carpal tunnel is probably stops them from drawing all the time
Yeah.
and doing anything. But no, like I don't I would be surprised if any artists feel the same way about like what writers do. Like, do artists think writers are magic? Like, no, I don't know. There's something about art and comics and sequential storytelling that is just, I don't know. It just hits our brain in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as like, so as a writer, are you like, do you find yourself always having ideas, or like, are you always expanding this one idea that you've got, or are you like project by project,
Ugh.
like, let's do slight return, let's focus everything on that, and then I can go
Oh, I
to,
see what you're saying. Do I work on multiple projects at once?
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, I do. I do. I feel like I have to at this point. Like, there was a time, probably in my 20s, when I, would obsess and agonize and, have to make everything my magnum opus. And of course, all that stuff was garbage. Um, but I don't know, life just like doesn't work like that. I feel like I'm more creative. I'm a better creator when I'm a little more nimble
Mm.
with how I spend my time. Like at the moment, I'm working on, two things. I'm co-writing with friends, um, a feature spec that I'm writing alone, a couple, a comic thing I'm working on with another friend. Like, it's good. I guess all those take a little longer, but I think it's good. I feel like I bring a fresher perspective when I'm
Mm.
not nose to the grindstone night after night after night after night. So, um, yeah,
That's cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm like obsessively always having to have something near me that I can write down, because I'll like, last week I woke up at like 2 in the morning and I had this super vivid dream. I was like, I better write this down, because like it was too emotionally charged to just like go back to sleep. And so I got,
yeah,
I don't and grab my phone
mhm,
and was like, I have notes, whatever. And so I
yep,
ended up having notes like everywhere. I have like three different notes. I Google Drive all over the place. Like, it's kind of a problem at this point for me.
yeah,
But I love hearing that like I'm not the only one that's just writing all the time.
yeah. No, I mean, on some level, I feel like I don't write enough, but like then of course I have like a conversation like this, and I'm like, hey, I'm working on A, B, and C, and I'm like, actually, that on paper that sounds pretty good. That sounds like a lot. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Time's running out. I don't know. I don't know. I gotta get moving and write as much as I can. So that's the kind of mode I'm in lately. And I think Slight Return, pitching it and getting it with Odyssey, and then getting commissioned to write the whole thing. That was like part of my, like, I stopped work on another script to go write all of Slight Return, do a couple of drafts of it with notes from Aaron, and then jump back on to whatever I was working on before. So it all happened pretty quickly.
That's cool. So talk about the like connecting with Odyssey. Like, what was, how did that, were you just like, oh yeah, small press, they got a cool vibe, like let's just pitch that. How did that come to be?
Yeah, so actually it's kind of a funny story in that Odyssey first reached out to me and an artist I worked with. His name is JJ Lopez. And in that book, that self-published digital book I was talking about that Dave Law did the cover for,
Mhm.
I did a sci-fi short with JJ Lopez. And for whatever reason, Marcus at Odyssey got a hold of it. I don't know. I barely promoted that book. It was just more of an experiment, if anything else. But he liked the short, and he was putting together a sci-fi anthology for Odyssey, and he wanted to include that short. So we had to, sign a contract with him, and I think it's being printed now. It's been delivered digitally. It's called Critical Mass, the first volume,
Okay.
and I was like, great. And like, it was, I've had a number of experiences with different publishers, but like negotiating with Marcus on the contract, and just every step of the way just felt like a very reasonable guy who like loved creators, loved comics, wasn't trying to pull a fast one in any way. And I was like, I like this guy. I
Yeah,
like this guy a lot. So when I'd finally finished putting together the slight return pitch with Heather, I think I sent to a couple of like long shots just to see like, I don't know, is Dark Horse gonna like this or anything else?
mm,
You always gotta like cross your fingers and hope. But I knew that those were long shots, and I think Marcus was high up on the list in terms of people I wanted to look at it. And he read the pitch and he was like, I was looking for, something with demons in it. And he was like, this is awesome. And he loved Heather's work, and it didn't take long for him to like draw up a contract, and we were off to the races.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. There's something special about like finding the right team
Yeah.
to then partner with to get like your story in front of new faces. Like
Yeah.
that's like that has to be super rewarding as a creator to like find that team.
Yeah. No, it is. And I think it's actually one of the hardest parts, being an indie creator. My experience and my instinct is that it's usually the writers who are trying to put together the teams first. Artists are busy and they're usually in demand, much like Heather
Yeah.
was. Writers sit around and they'll like agonize over these ideas and they'll like dream up these pitches. So first it's always kind of a miracle when like schedules line up, and it also like finding like the right people. Like, Heather's cool. Like we've done calls with the Odyssey team and stuff, and I know that she's an Eagles fan right now. Very exciting time for her, and like she digs the material and she has great taste, and it's great to be able to carry along these personalities, and because it's a long train to get these projects done.
Yeah.
So we're still in production right now, but that's what the Kickstarter is for, is to fund the rest of that.
That's cool. So what's the I can't tell in my easy cheating here.
Mm.
What's the like timeline like for Slight Return like post campaign?
So post campaign, I think we're looking. Oh man, Marcus would be the guy to answer this. I think we're aiming for the summer. I could be wrong about that. I know it's the summer or fall for sure. Oh, estimated delivery August. Okay, so yeah, late summer. To start sending out the books and all the rewards, which I would be remiss not to mention the fact that Marcus really went over the top, and we're giving away an actual guitar with this
Uh,
Kickstarter. So everyone who backs one of the physical tiers is automatically entered into this giveaway for a white guitar from Stag Music that resembles the one that's used in the actual book.
dude,
Yes.
like
Crazy.
whole I've seen a lot of Kickstarters. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever seen anyone giving away a guitar. Uh like I saw that and I was like, dude, there's no way. There's they're legit. Like holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Um, Marcus pitched us the idea before we launched. He's like, "What if we gave away a guitar?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. Like, uh, good, yeah. I mean, that's cool. If we can swing that, that's great. But I don't want you to like sink like too much money into like trying to, just get people eyes on it." And he's like, "No, think I have an idea about how to get one of these, like, um, and it won't really affect our bottom line." I'm like, "Man, well, you have the creator's blessing. Like, it's rad." So,
That's awesome. Speaking of rad, I would be remiss if I didn't point out there it is. This
oh yeah,
freaking shirt,
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Repo Baby with the skull and the sword with the broken jaw. Like, dude,
yes,
Sick.
So, Repo Baby is the name of the band in the book. It's the character's band. And we were lucky that Heather is um, actually close friends with Alex Ekman Lawn, who's like this incredible artist. Actually, I have a book on my shelf that he like designed the cover for, like like a novel. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, you know this guy? And she was like, yeah, let me ask if like he has any work that like he can either do or has like that's not being used that we could like use for the campaign. And like this is what he came up with. And we immediately were like, oh my God. And then Marcus put it on a shirt, and I'm like, wow, I definitely need that shirt. That shirt's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. And based on the response that's popping off in the comments right now, he's not the only one that needs that shirt. Um,
Yeah,
like,
Dylan.
how can you have a music comic and not have a band tee?
Right.
What I want to know.
Yeah.
So the nitty gritty details here. You got 21 days to go.
Hmm.
Which anybody watching this, you have until February 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. So that's noon Pacific time. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, nailed it. I love that everything's Eastern because I don't have to do math. So you have till Thursday, February 20th to get in on this campaign. You're currently at 59 backers. You're at 2068. I'm sure these numbers don't help your anxiety at all. You've got a $5,000 goal, so you're not there yet. You're creeping up on that halfway mark.
Yes.
Anybody that backs physical can enter to get the guitar. You can
Yep.
pick up the T-shirt. There's a hardcover, which would look excellent next to your shelf of hardcovers if you were staff and had all of your books organized by size and cover style like I do. But yeah, like it as Vaughn says, Slight Return is the perfect storm of awesome. It's supernatural rock and roll thriller, like hits all the marks, the colors are there. I'm gonna end this and back the book immediately. So um the last thing that I do, I know that we're on Instagram Live
Sure.
and we're not officially. I'm gonna try and figure out if I can download this to get it posted to YouTube,
Okay.
because this has been a really great chat. And uh, so on the show, I always end with like, I shut up and let the guest talk. So if there's anything that you want people to hear, it could be about Slight Return. It could be about why the bass is actually the superior instrument over the content doesn't so much matter as much as I just want you to have a chance to say anything that you want people to hear from you.
Okay, wow. It feels like pressure, but no, it's very, very actually very gracious of you. Yeah, well, we have this book. It's been a labor of love. We got a great publisher behind it. We got an amazing artist behind it. There's a lot of things in the world that feel like emergencies right now, but I would say that, finding joy right now is also a priority for people. So if comics are your joy, if horror is your joy, if rock and roll is your joy, I think like this fits that bill. And yeah, I can't wait to get this in front of people. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. I check all three of those boxes: comics, or
Yeah.
rock and roll.
Yep.
So, and Pink, because Pink makes everything.
Yes.
So, I because I don't do this ever. I don't know how to end this other than to end it.
Oh,
So,
yeah, right.
Rob, thanks for hanging out with me, man. This
Man.
was a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and like usually there's not an everybody. It's usually me talking to Vaughn, uh, and so like, and that's totally fine. Like I don't do this to get numbers. I do this because I
Yeah.
want conversation, and this was a great conversation. So
Yeah.
uh, I will be in touch. I'll shoot you a message after this. Usually I have people hang on and I give them logistics. I don't know how to do that with this, so I'll shoot you a message. um, and then yeah, like go back Slight Return. I'll share the campaign to my story here on Instagram and reshare this video so that anybody can watch it at any point. And then hopefully I figure out how to rip it or download it or something, pirate it. I don't know what I need to do, but I'll how to do it, and I'll get it up on YouTube and all the audio podcasting platforms and stuff. So, what is a good podcast without a good tagline? This is mine. Go do what's good for you, punks. Read some indie comics. Rob, thank you for hanging out with me on a Wednesday night on Box Talk here on Instagram Live. And until next time, we will talk to you later. Go Backslide Return.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Absolutely, dude. This was a joy. Let me see.
Likewise.